You wake up one morning and turn on the faucet. Nothing comes out. You try the bathroom. Nothing. You check your phone for news. No alerts, no emergency notifications, no explanation. You assume it's temporary, a maintenance issue, something that will be fixed by the time you need to shower before work. It isn't temporary. This is future unlocked. Water is so fundamental to daily life that most people in developed countries have never had to think about it. It comes out of the tap. It has always come out of the tap. And the idea that it might one day simply stop, not in a distant developing nation, but in a modern American city, feels like the kind of scenario that belongs in a disaster movie, not in a realistic conversation about the near future. But the infrastructure that delivers water to your home is older, more stressed, and more vulnerable than most people realize. And the combination of factors now pressing against that infrastructure, climate change, population growth, aging pipes, drought cycles, and chronic underinvestment, is creating conditions that water experts have been warning about for years. The question is not whether water crises will happen in developed cities. They already are. The question is whether the people living in those cities will understand what's coming before it arrives, or whether they will find out the same way they find out about most infrastructure failures, by turning on the tap and getting nothing. To understand the scale of the problem, you need to understand how water systems actually work, and how much of that system is invisible to the people who depend on it every day. The water infrastructure of most American cities was built in the mid-20th century. The pipes, the treatment facilities, the distribution networks, much of it is now decades past its intended lifespan. The American Society of Civil Engineers has consistently given the country's water infrastructure poor grades in its annual assessments. Hundreds of billions of dollars in investment would be needed just to maintain current functionality, let alone improve it. Every day, water systems across the United States lose enormous amounts of treated water through leaks in aging pipes before it ever reaches a home or business. Water that has been treated, pumped, and pressurized simply disappears into the ground through cracks and failures that are often invisible until they become catastrophic. And that's before you factor in the supply side of the equation. The sources that feed those pipes, the reservoirs, the rivers, the underground aquifers, are under pressure from multiple directions simultaneously. Droughts that would once have been considered rare events are becoming more frequent and more severe across large parts of the western United States. Reservoirs that were designed to buffer against dry years are being drawn down faster than they can recover. The Colorado River, which supplies water to tens of millions of people across 7 states, has been running below sustainable levels for years. Underground aquifers, which took thousands of years to fill, are being depleted at rates that have no historical precedent. In some agricultural regions, the land itself is sinking as the water beneath it is extracted faster than it can be naturally replenished. That subsidence is permanent. The storage capacity, once lost, does not return. But the supply problem and the infrastructure problem don't exist in isolation. They interact, and their interaction creates a compounding effect that is more serious than either problem alone. When supply decreases, the remaining water has to travel further through the distribution network to reach the same number of people. That increased demand on aging pipes accelerates the rate of failure. More leaks develop, more pressure is lost, more treated water disappears before it reaches its destination. At the same time, the financial pressure on water utilities increases. Lower water sales, because of conservation mandates and reduced supply, means less revenue. Less revenue means less money available for the infrastructure maintenance and upgrades that the system desperately needs. The utilities most stressed by drought and supply problems are often the ones least able to afford the repairs that would help them manage those problems. It is a cycle that tightens quietly over years, and that looks manageable at every individual step, right up until the moment it doesn't. There is also a political dimension that makes this harder to address than it should be. Water infrastructure investment is expensive, unglamorous, and produces results that are largely invisible. Fixed pipes don't make news. Prevented crises don't generate headlines. The political rewards for investing heavily in water infrastructure are modest, while the costs are immediate and significant. The result is that investment gets deferred, year after year, administration after administration, until the system that was designed for a certain level of stress is operating well beyond it. And the question is no longer whether something will fail, but what will fail first. Now here is what makes this situation particularly dangerous and particularly difficult to address. Water infrastructure failures don't announce themselves dramatically. They build slowly, invisibly beneath the surface, until the day they don't. A pipe that has been corroding for 20 years looks fine from the outside until the moment it doesn't. A reservoir that has been declining for a decade still delivers water right up until the point where pressure can no longer be maintained across the full distribution network. The system continues to function right up until it can't. And the institutions responsible for managing these systems face enormous pressure to communicate confidence rather than concern. Announcing that your city's water supply is under serious stress creates panic, affects property values, and generates political problems. The incentive is to manage quietly for as long as possible and hope the crisis arrives on someone else's watch. Now let's make this real. Imagine a family living in a mid-sized southwestern city. Call them the Garcias. They are not thinking about water. Why would they be? The tap works. The bills come, and they pay them. The city sends occasional notices about conservation measures during dry summers, but the water always comes back to full pressure by fall. Then one summer, it doesn't. The conservation notices become mandatory restrictions. Outdoor watering is banned. Restaurants stop serving water unless specifically requested. The local news runs stories about reservoir levels that look alarming on the charts but feel abstract, until the day the city announces that pressure will be reduced across certain districts due to supply constraints. The Garcias start buying bottled water. They shower less. They become careful in ways they never had to be before. And underneath the practical adjustments, something else shifts. A quiet anxiety about a resource they had always assumed was simply there. 6 months later, a neighboring city implements emergency rationing. The images on the news, water distribution trucks, long lines, families carrying containers, look like something from another country, but they are 40 miles away. What nobody told the Garcias, what the city's public communications had carefully avoided stating directly, was that the modeling done by water management officials 3 years earlier had already identified the current situation as a likely outcome. The infrastructure investments needed to address it had been proposed, debated, partially funded, and then delayed by competing budget priorities. The crisis didn't arrive without warning. The warning existed. It just never reached the people who needed to hear it in a form that felt urgent enough to act on. And that gap between what institutions know about infrastructure risk and what they communicate to the public is one of the most consistent and consequential patterns in how modern cities manage the slow-moving crises building beneath their surfaces. Water is not the only system operating this way, but it may be the most immediate. Because unlike electricity, unlike internet access, unlike financial systems, the human body has no flexibility on water. The timeline from scarcity to crisis is measured not in weeks, but in days. The future isn't coming, it's already here. If this made you think about something you've never had to think about before, consider subscribing. There's more of this ahead.